Hi, hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. Here I am back in my drum dungeon. I thought I'd take the opportunity to ramble on about some stories. No one's really watching many of these videos anyway, so it gives me a chance to talk to myself, which I'm quite good at. Been thinking a lot about musical history, my musical history, recently, and thinking about a lot of my musical heroes. I thought I'd start off by naming two of my early musical heroes, and I bet you won't have heard of them. Well, some of you might have, if anyone is actually watching this. It goes way back to when 1985, I think it was about 16, 17, something like that. Me and my mate Beam, whose real name is Paul, but no one calls him Paul apart from his wife. And Beam and I, we left home and our homes in Blenheim and moved to the big city of Christchurch to be rock stars. Still trying. And anyway, we both played guitar at the time. He played guitar really well. I played it abysmally, which is why I ended up as a drummer. But anyway, we moved down to Christchurch, and I know it was 1985 because Iron Maiden had just put out the Running Free single, and that was on just repeat on our stereo. And Power Slave was the first time the Maiden singles had been released in New Zealand, and the ones off Live After Death were next. So yeah, Running Free had just come out. We moved into this house in Christchurch, the two of us, to be rock stars. We did all the usual things, you know. We worked a load of dead-end jobs and all that kind of thing, and tried to learn our chops. Well, Beam spent more time learning his chops than I did, so I was too busy getting drunk and falling over, and realised I couldn't really play the guitar that well, and that I preferred drums. Anyway, at that time in Christchurch, we met Bruce Ray, Ace T-shirts, and Bruce and his wife Karen, they ran this T-shirt shop in Christchurch, and it became a bit of a mecca for heavy metal fans. But back then, the heaviest sort of stuff they listened to a bit of Scorpions and stuff like that. And they said, come along to see this band. And there was a band in Christchurch called Fat Sally, and they had some original stuff. They did a load of covers. And they were playing a place called the Aranui, like a big pub on the outskirts of Christchurch. So Beam and I trundled along to see Fat Sally, and it was great. It was fantastic. They played for like 3 hours because that's what you did back then, and it was Keith Palmer on bass and vocals. Daryl was his last name. It was Karen's brother, Daryl, on guitar, and a guy called Steve, I can't remember his last name either, on drums. Anyway, so we trundled along, Beam and I, and we were the only headbangers there, because we just become headbangers. I don't know, we'd shake our fairy heads and, you know, throw the devil horns and all that sort of good stuff. We were only about 16 or 17. Highly illegal for us to be in there. And I remember Bruce and Karen were there, and they were dancing to like Scorpions sort of style. Yeah, because a lot of the stuff was sort of a bit of AC/DC, bit of Thin Lizzy, ZZ Top, hot rocking from Judas Priest, you know, which sent us into a frenzy. It was just the lighter side, the more hard rock than heavy metal. And but it was great. I mean, they're a really good band, really nice people. And people were a bit perturbed by the sight of us. What the hell are these strange people standing at the front of the stage shaking their heads? Anyway, and we got to know Bruce and Karen really well, and we got to know the band really well. And Beam a couple of times, because he's not as tall as I was. I mean, I didn't look 20. 20 was the drinking age in New Zealand. I looked 17, you know. But I got away with it because I was taller, and Beam was smaller. And Shona, Keith's wife, the bass singer's wife, sort of said to the owners of the Aranui that Beam was her nephew, which allowed him to get in. Anyway, and they became really good friends, really nice people. And Fat Sally they were something special back then. You know, just great band, a lot of fun. And they moved from the Aranui eventually to the Sandridge. It's a bigger place, and they were accumulating more and more rock fans and heavy metal fans coming out of the woodwork, because heavy metal was pretty underground, especially in the South Island, you know. And they did really well. And then they moved to the Gladstone, and there was a point where they changed drummers. Steve got the elbow. Steve was a raging pisshead. We used to have these massive parties. Beam and I used to have these parties at our place, and just all the local rock fans and headbangers would come along and just get ripped for a few days. And they were great. It was so much fun. It really was so much fun. And Steve was one of them. He was a hardcore drinker, you know, and he'd go home and he always had a habit of pissing in his wardrobe for some reason. His wife was telling us. Anyway, he got the elbow from Fat Sally, and they got a new guy called Kevin or something. We didn't like him because he was just not our guy. We always thought he was full of himself. Maybe he was, maybe he was. He was a good drummer, but the magic kind of changed. And also we got Bruce was a force of nature. Bruce Ray from Ace T-shirts. He was a force of nature, and he really wanted to get involved with Fat Sally, and he was always offering sometimes unwanted advice to Daryl through Karen. Daryl Pringle, that was it. Karen Pringle was her name. Karen was lovely. Karen was they used to do screen printing. She did this for me. This Eddie. This Karen's work. She started this jacket used to belong to a bloke in the mongrel mob. The bastard stole my leather jacket at knife point, and as he was running off, he dropped his denim jacket. So it wasn't a fair trade. I thought, all right, you prick. I turned it into my denim jacket. Yeah, it's not my mongrel mob jacket no more. It doesn't fit me anymore either, because I was way skinnier. Anyway, Bruce and Shona, who was sort of managing Fat Sally, if you like, they were at constant loggerheads, and Bruce could be really obnoxious, particularly when he was drinking. I mean, he was funny as fuck, he really was, but he could be quite obnoxious. And I remember one night he called Shona some names or whatever, so at our place everyone was hammered and jumping around, and Keith lumped him one and broke his nose. And then stomped out, and that was the end of that. And we sort of ended up getting involved in all these squabbly band politics, which was none of our business. So we were just kids, and we were always saying, "Oh, you need to play some heavy stuff," and then they eventually did, and then we got all kind of sniffy because it wasn't as good as we were expecting it to be. And the new drummer, we didn't like him, and you know, usual crap that goes with any little scene. And it all turned a bit sour, which was a shame. And it wasn't long after that I left Christchurch, really, moved to England. But Keith Palmer was a phenomenal, and is still going, he's a phenomenal musician, great vocalist. I mean, they were all good music. Daryl was a great guitarist. And Keith did some solo stuff, I know. But the thing about Keith, I always remember, not only was he a really good bass player, but my band, Talon, with Beam on bass and Dean on vocals, Budgie on guitar, who I've got in touch with again through Facebook, which was fantastic, and skinny guy on guitar. Well, what was his name? I can't remember his name. Sorry, mate. Anyway, we started playing gigs, and the first gig we played was a Battle of the Bands thing in the Gladstone pub. And all our new friends from the Fat Sally crowd and the people that had started to go, and all the headbangers that we've met and come out of the woodwork and got to know really well, like the Schuler family, Harry, and Christina and Tina. Tina? Yeah. And just these people were some of the best people I've ever met in my life. Just great. And Bruce and Karen were there, and Daryl came along, and Shona and Keith. Anyway, we played this set, and in it we did a cover of Crazy Train and Children of the Grave. I want to say we did Running Free as well. We might have, we might not have. I think we did, yeah, because I was really chuffed because I wasn't that long ago that I'd only cracked the drumming from Running Free, so I wanted to play it live anyway. And we're playing the show, and I was nervous as hell because it was a first sort of pub gig in Christchurch, and in the middle of the set, the drum riser was really small. I had a Tama Swingstar kit, and because I've got long arms, I had my cymbals set out fairly wide, and I smacked these cymbals, and they went boom, fell off the drum riser onto the stage, taking some stuff with the microphones and stuff. I thought, oh no, and I freaked out. I was, oh no, what am I going to do? And Keith, without missing a beat, he jumped up from the crowd, and he ran on stage, and he picked up my cymbals and put them back where they were. And he sat down by my ride cymbal, and he kept sort of going, yeah, go, carry on, keep going, and offering all this encouragement and making sure nothing fell off. And that made such a difference, and it stayed with me forever. So he's one of my earliest musical heroes. Not only because he's a great musician, but he was a good person. He was a good guy, you know. I was in trouble, and a lot of people just would have sat there going, oh, you know, but he didn't. He got up and he helped us get through it, and I haven't forgotten that. And I don't think I've ever really properly said how much I appreciate it. So that's probably why I'm doing this video, because even if no one sees it, I've said it publicly. Keith Palmer, thank you, man. I try to do that for other people in bands when I can, because I do remember what you did for me. And the other musical hero from that time was Beam. Still is. He's still one of the best bass players I've ever played with. He's a phenomenal bass player. He's still playing. We were in Chokehold together, Iron Knights, Metalhead, you know. He's an incredible bass player. One of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet. Very easy to be in a band with. He gets stuck in and throws everything into it, you know. He's got way more talent than I have. He can play all kinds of shit. He does all that jazz and funk and whatever. He can do all that. He's like this guy here, Antonio Cascarano, who again is another phenomenal bass player. He's the same. He can play all kinds of stuff. Me, I'm a heavy metal drummer. I can bluff my way through bits and pieces here and there, but heavy metal is what makes my hair stand up on end. That's what I want to play. And Beam's an incredible heavy metal bass player. So yeah, two of my earliest musical heroes, actual people that I knew, bass players. Ha! Go figure. Yeah, and of course, Bruce went on to form Grunt Records. These guys in Christchurch with a guy called Jeff Alston, who ran the Timaru U235 Heavy Metal Club. And Grunt Records started importing, it's still true, yeah, started importing metal albums. That's where we heard Metallica and all the stuff that wasn't released in New Zealand, you know, Savatage, Venom, you know, all this stuff, Tank, Rogue Mail. Years later I was in Rogue Mail playing All Over You and Crazy Motorcycle, two songs that were permanently on our party playlist in New Zealand. Funny how things work out. Yes, and Bruce formed Grunt Records and was instrumental in introducing a lot of metal to New Zealand, you know, which was then, some of it was, you know, on general release later. You didn't have to import it, you know, but back in the day it was hard to find a lot of this stuff, apart from, you know, Sabbath and AC/DC. But yeah, so there you go. Bruce is dead now. He died. Karen's gone. Steve, the old drummer from Fat Sally's gone. You know, Harry Schuler Sr. is gone. And the world is worse off without the minute. But yeah, it was 1985 to about 1987, I think it was. Our time in Christchurch, Beam and I. It was incredible. Good days, good music, you know. Stuff was coming out. I remember when Orgasmatron came out. I remember, you know, when we first heard Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All and Savage's Dungeons Are Calling and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like, wow. We saw our first live VHS music video was Crocus, which Bruce imported. And then, of course, Live After Death came out. And I was just like, oh my word. Because none of these guys came to New Zealand at the time. You know, very rarely. Motorhead came, Uriah Heep, Twisted Sister, Deep Purple. And that was about it. There wasn't much else. And they were before then, you know, before I was in Christchurch. So yeah, there you go. So thanks, Beam. Very inspiring bass player. And thanks, Keith. Inspiring bass player, inspiring bloke. And I haven't forgotten what you did. And yeah, if you're lucky in another one of these, with these therapy sessions to my camera, I'll tell you the story about Bruce and the moth with the 3-foot cock. He was a special guy. So yeah, bye for now.